You've been lied to. Tesla and Doge aren't shaping the future. They're fighting extinction. The silent downfall of Doge's muscle car empire is happening now, hidden behind fake engine sounds and empty showrooms. And Tesla? Elon Musk's golden empire is cracking from the inside out, abandoned by the very drivers who once worshipped him. Everyone thinks electric is the answer, but what if I showed you it's actually the problem? In the next 10 minutes, you'll discover why Doge's iconic roar turned into a whisper, how Musk went from visionary to liability, and who's secretly profiting while America's favorite car brands crumble. Can your next car survive this storm? Are dealerships dead or making a comeback? And who just delivered a brutal knockout blow that no one saw coming? Don't click away. Your car, your wallet, and your future depend on knowing the shocking truth I'm about to reveal. Doge is running on fumes. While Tesla was spiraling in public view, Doge was collapsing in silence. The end of the Charger and Challenger should have been a ceremonial event, a transition moment honoring decades of American muscle culture. Instead, it happened with barely a whisper. No final tour, no grand send-off, no loud goodbye for a brand built on volume and bravado. In its place came the Dodge Charger Daytona SRT, an electric vehicle attempting to sound like it still had a V8 heart. It didn't. Dodge tried to resurrect engine notes using speakers, artificial growls and synthetic roars. It was more theater than performance, an awkward pantomime of power that left longtime fans confused, if not outright offended. Dealers, once confident in the roar of a Hemi engine to move metal, were now stuck trying to explain why a car that made fake noise cost more than the used muscle cars sitting just down the street. The heart of Doge, the unapologetic, gas-guzzling soul of middle America, was gone, replaced by what felt like a marketing department's best guess. The core problem wasn't just technology, it was identity. Dodge was loud, brash, and raw. It never pretended to be efficient. It never tried to be clever. In its own way, it was honest. Now, stripped of combustion, the brand seemed lost in a sea of silent motors and borrowed tech platforms from its European parent company, Stellantis. And as Dodge drifted without direction, its most loyal drivers turned their backs. Some went vintage, buying up 8-cylinder relics from the past. Others fled to affordable foreign alternatives, performance bikes from Japan, turbocharged hatches from South Korea, even Chinese imports with more horsepower and less pretense. For a moment, it looked like Dodge and Tesla, brands on opposite sides of the automotive culture war, had something in common. Neither knew who they were anymore. One had lost its story, the other, its soul. As the market started to implode, a familiar figure returned to reshape the chaos, and not in the way anyone expected. Trump's return, Tesla's reward, Dodge's disaster. Donald Trump was back in the White House, and with him came a wave of policies that threw the automotive world into confusion. In his second term, Trump wasted no time reshuffling federal priorities, most notably steering contracts and incentives toward Tesla. Musk, once the outsider disruptor, was now the golden child of the public sector. Federal defense contracts, artificial intelligence partnerships, strategic infrastructure licenses, all fast-tracked. The price of admission, Musk's loyalty, or at least his loud approval. Meanwhile, Dodge was left completely in the cold. Stellantis, its parent company, was headquartered in the Netherlands and managed out of France and Italy. That made Dodge, by Trump's nationalistic standards, the wrong kind of American brand. The kind that didn't get protection, the kind that didn't get help. It got worse. Mark Carney, now Prime Minister of Canada, announced retaliatory tariffs in response to Trump's executive orders. The first industry hit? Automobiles. The first victims? Dodge's export plants and cross-border suppliers. Suddenly, Dodge couldn't move units into Ontario or Quebec without absorbing crushing fees. Workers in Detroit saw overnight layoffs. Union reps went silent. Stellantis said nothing. And the once thriving US-Canada auto pipeline turned into a battleground. Tesla, meanwhile, kept collecting wins, on paper, but the optics were brutal. What once looked like innovation now looked like political favoritism. And Dodge's collapse no longer felt like a slow fade. It looked like a targeted elimination. At a time when the average American driver was looking for leadership and stability, both brands appeared corrupted or compromised. And consumers responded the only way they could, in droves, with their wallets. The Consumer Revolt Tesla never saw coming. What broke Tesla wasn't a competitor or even a government. It was the people who used to believe in it. Buyers began rejecting Tesla not just for the price, but for the feeling that the company had stopped caring about them. Support lines went silent. Service centers ran months behind schedule. Software updates broke more features than they fixed. And in the middle of it all, Musk seemed more focused on political sparring than product improvement. What began as a slow drip of canceled orders became a wave. New buyers pivoted to Toyota's fresh electric lineup. Others gave up on new cars altogether, favoring reliable used hybrids or low-cost imports. Even brand-loyal Tesla drivers, people who once waited 6 months for a Model Y, began looking elsewhere. Meanwhile, Dodge offered nothing. No vision, no rebuttal, no plan. Just synthetic sounds and recycled press statements. And yet, in their silence, Dodge revealed a truth Tesla couldn't hide anymore. The future wasn't about storytelling. It was about service. Support mattered more than status. Reliability mattered more than charisma. Toyota understood that. So did Hyundai. Even BYD. A new mantra quietly emerged across car forums and dealer showrooms. Support wins, not slogans. And that shift in consumer faith was only the beginning. Because when people move their money, the markets follow. And Tesla's next problem wasn't emotional, it was financial. Elon's personal collapse on Wall Street. Now we've dug through countless sources, tested every angle, and gathered the most important information to make this video, which means you've got the best options, all in one place, saving you time and frustration. If that's valuable, hit subscribe. Tesla's stock had been declining for months, but now the decline wasn't just about pricing wars or missed targets. It was about Elon himself. Analyst notes, once filled with terms like disruptor and market innovator, began to swap in words like unpredictable, politically volatile, and reputational risk. One hedge fund manager, speaking anonymously to Bloomberg, put it bluntly, it's hard to separate Tesla from Elon, and Elon is off the rails. On investor calls, questions that were once reserved for production milestones and battery breakthroughs began to shift. How is Tesla insulating itself from the CEO's political activity? One fund manager asked. The response from Tesla's investor relations team was a masterclass in deflection, but the message was clear. This was no longer just about cars. Clips of Musk speaking at rallies alongside Donald Trump resurfaced online, sparking outrage in both directions. The same charisma that made him a Twitter hero became a branding nightmare. Old footage, chaotic live streams, off-the-cuff conspiracy theories. Investors were beginning to realize that the man behind the curtain had no filter, no guardrails, and possibly no strategy left. Rumors began to swirl in private equity circles. Some said Tesla had quietly over-reported international demand in China. Others claimed the Securities and Exchange Commission was reopening old investigations into executive stock options and internal disclosures. Whether true or not, the narrative had changed. Tesla was no longer a sure bet, it was a hot potato. Public confidence began to mirror institutional doubt. Retail investors, once fiercely loyal to Musk, flooded Reddit and YouTube with posts asking if now was the time to sell. The stock lost nearly half its value, wiping out billions of dollars in shareholder wealth. For a company once treated like Silicon Valley royalty, the reality hit hard. Tesla was no longer too big to fail. It was just too unstable to trust. And as the numbers fell, so did the jobs. When Dodge factories go dark, the lights didn't flicker out, they were simply shut off. One by one, Dodge assembly plants across Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois began closing with barely a whisper from the top. No farewell statements, no national headlines, just locked gates, pink slips, and stunned workers staring down the barrel of uncertainty. Stellantis, the parent company of Dodge, blamed supply chain issues, inflation, and a slow EV transition. But inside the plants, no one bought it. Workers knew what was really happening. There had been no plan, no coherent strategy for merging Dodge's heritage with an electric future, just a series of abandoned product announcements, concept vehicles no one asked for, and management teams cycling in from European headquarters with no grasp of local realities. The unions erupted. The United Auto Workers held emergency meetings, denouncing Stellantis for turning its back on American labor while investing billions overseas. One UAW official from Toledo summed it up best. "They sent our jobs to places we've never been and gave us silence in return." Families who had relied on Doge paychecks for generations were left scrambling. Mortgage payments went unpaid. Healthcare coverage vanished. Children dropped out of college to help make ends meet. Local economies began to collapse in real time. Executives in Paris and Milan issued canned press releases. But there were no visits to the Rust Belt, no apologies, no accountability. The company had become a ghost, abandoning its American workforce with the same efficiency it once used to build high-performance machines. Doge, the icon of American muscle, had become a hollow badge. Its last roar wasn't a V8, it was the echo of factory doors slamming shut. And those left behind? They were ready to make someone pay for it. The MAGA Meltdown. This was the twist nobody expected. The very people who rallied for Donald Trump, who waved the flags, wore the hats, shouted the slogans, began to turn on him, not in theory, in public, loudly, and with fire in their eyes. Across the Midwest, in cities like Flint, Youngstown, and Kenosha, a slow rage began to boil. Workers who once believed Trump would protect American industry were staring at empty parking lots where Dodge plants used to buzz with life. The jobs he promised weren't just gone, they were taken, dismantled, outsourced. What made it worse was what replaced them. Nothing. No new plants, no retraining programs, just silence. And every news headline seemed to mention Tesla getting tax credits, government contracts, and favors, while legacy brands like Dodge crumbled. Union members started standing shoulder to shoulder with conservative factory workers. Protests formed outside Stellantis offices, but the signs didn't just say, "Save our jobs." They said, "Trump lied." Truck drivers, machinists, and plant foremen took to Facebook, TikTok, and town halls with a new message: "We were used." On conservative talk radio, former supporters openly questioned Trump's priorities. One viral clip featured a laid-off worker shouting, "We didn't vote for him to help Elon Musk. We voted for him to help us." The betrayal ran deep. Trump had been the anti-elite, the man who said he'd bring factories back. Now he was golfing while the last muscle car assembly lines in America went quiet. What followed wasn't just anger, it was political combustion. MAGA began to fracture. Leaders in red states scrambled to distance themselves. Republican governors were forced to answer why their towns were dying while Tesla was flying government drones. And in the middle of it all, Dodge stayed silent. And Tesla, they started feeling the heat, not just from the public, but from the global stage. America's supply chain surrender. While Americans turned on each other, East Asia turned up the pressure. In executive meetings from Tokyo to Shenzhen, one thing became clear: the West had already lost the war. It just hadn't realized it yet. Toyota and BYD had seized the supply chain like a strategic beachhead. Every crucial component for modern electric vehicles, batteries, chips, semiconductors, rare earth magnets, was now flowing through ports they controlled. If America wanted to build an EV, it had to go through them. U.S. automakers faced delays so severe that production halts became routine. A shortage of battery packs here, a semiconductor delivery missed there, and suddenly entire production lines sat idle. Consumers were told to wait months, even a year, for basic vehicle deliveries. Meanwhile, Toyota was flooding the market with well-priced, fully loaded EVs. Government attempts to reshore supply chains fell flat. Tax credits were passed. Onshoring incentives were promised, but nothing materialized in time to stop the bleeding. Every dollar spent chasing domestic production felt like a drop in the ocean compared to the scale of East Asian logistics. And all the while, Tesla's vertical integration model, the very system Elon Musk had once championed, was choking under its own weight. Without access to cheap global parts, Tesla's cost structure couldn't compete. Elon's dream of end-to-end control turned into a bottleneck nightmare. American-made no longer meant reliable or affordable. It meant inaccessible, broken, overpriced. And that illusion was about to unravel even further, starting from inside Tesla's own empire. Tesla's vertical integration trap. It was once Tesla's greatest weapon, doing everything in-house. Elon Musk called vertical integration the key to Tesla's speed, precision, and innovation. But as global pricing shifts and EV competition intensifies, that strategy has become a trap. Tesla's gigafactories, from California to China, were built for domination. Massive, centralized, and engineered to produce high-margin vehicles with little outsourcing. But they're not flexible. These facilities can't easily pivot to cheaper models or rapid design shifts. When Toyota dropped a fully loaded electric vehicle for $13,000, Tesla had nowhere to go. Retooling a gigafactory is a slow, expensive process. Modular design was never part of Tesla's infrastructure. Every change costs time and capital, and Tesla's entire cost structure is built around premium pricing. When the floor drops out of that pricing, Tesla's whole system trembles. Musk's refusal to rely on partners made Tesla agile once. Now it's isolated. Other automakers can adapt quickly through alliances. Toyota with Guangzhou, Hyundai with SK, Volkswagen with KTL. Tesla has only itself. In a fast-moving market, that is no longer a strength. Margins shrink. Factories stall. Investor confidence shakes. Tesla is discovering what happens when a structure designed for control can no longer adapt to chaos. While Tesla stalled inside its empire, another American brand tried a different strategy. Dodge didn't double down. It disguised, and the result was equally disastrous. Dodge's EV Frankenstein. The Dodge Charger. Daytona was supposed to bring muscle into the electric age. Instead, it brought mockery. The sound of a simulated V8 through speakers replaced real combustion. Dodge fans, known for their loyalty to power and tradition, didn't cheer. They cringed. Performance wasn't the issue. Identity was. The Daytona felt fake. Online, it became a meme. Critics mocked it. Loyalists abandoned it. This isn't evolution, one fan wrote. It's cosplay. Dealers were stuck. They couldn't explain the car to traditional buyers, and new buyers didn't care. It didn't attract EV enthusiasts or hold the hearts of muscle purists. Inventory piled up. Dodge tried to bridge its past and future, but the result pleased no one. Without the sound, without the soul, the brand became unrecognizable, a nameplate in search of meaning, a muscle car without muscle. As Dodge stumbled, Toyota executed, quietly, efficiently, lethally. Toyota's strategic kill shot. Toyota didn't just enter the electric space, it changed it. The company released a $13,000 electric sport utility vehicle that wasn't stripped down or half-baked. It was smart, reliable, and ready for global deployment. The move wasn't accidental. It was the result of careful partnerships, especially with China's Guangzhou Automobile Group. By using lithium iron phosphate batteries, Toyota avoided rare metals like cobalt, cutting costs without sacrificing durability. Where Tesla had delays and Dodge had confusion, Toyota had action. It already had the dealers, the service centers, the infrastructure. It simply turned the machine on. Fleet managers jumped on it. Then everyday buyers followed. The vehicle wasn't just cheap, it was full-featured. It came with real tech, real comfort, and real support. And it worked. Tesla couldn't lower prices without destroying its margins. Dodge had nothing to compete. Toyota seized the ground they both lost and did it without spectacle. No tweets, no theatrical reveals, just a decisive strike. It wasn't just a product victory, it was strategic annihilation. And what Toyota shattered wasn't just business, it was belief. When the American car stopped being American. For generations, American cars were more than machines. They were statements of freedom, power, rebellion. Dodge represented noise and legacy. Tesla represented vision and disruption. Both were cultural pillars. Now, both feel hollow. Dodge's exit from combustion left behind fans with nowhere to turn. The electric Daytona didn't carry the same spirit. There's no ritual in a synthetic growl. The burnout culture is gone. The garage builds, the drag strips, they have no electric replacement. Tesla, once the future, now feels stalled in the present. The brand's mystique is fading under delivery delays, rising service complaints, and Elon Musk's polarizing image. What was once a badge of innovation now feels risky to own. Consumers are drifting, not toward any one brand, but away from what Tesla and Dodge represented. People are seeking value, support, reliability. Identity is no longer tied to an American car. It's tied to a product that simply works. Toyota understood that. It didn't chase hype. It delivered utility. The emotional story, once written in rumbling engines and futuristic dashboards, is now being rewritten in quiet cabins and functioning networks. The collapse of Dodge and Tesla isn't just about the market, it's about memory. A car used to mean something. It stood for who you were. Now it's just transportation. That shift isn't coming. It already happened. And while America wonders what went wrong, the rest of the world is already building what comes next. Canada's cold revenge. The moment Donald Trump reclaimed the presidency, Canada prepared for battle. Mark Carney made no secret of his intentions. In a calculated economic retaliation, he declared American automakers incompatible with Canada's future. Overnight, the landscape shifted dramatically. A new 30% tariff on American-built vehicles effectively erased Tesla and Dodge from Canadian dealerships. Once thriving, Tesla's futuristic image and Dodge's muscle car allure vanished from streets across Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Canadian buyers, urged by fresh incentives, flocked to Asian and European automakers instead. Hyundai's sleek electrics, Toyota's affordable SUVs, and Volkswagen's reliable range took center stage. Carney's policy wasn't mere economics. It was a pointed rejection of American arrogance. The automotive corridor that bound the United States and Canada fractured irreparably, and diplomatic relations deteriorated rapidly. Yet Canada's economic strike was just the first wave. The real reckoning was coming not from politicians or tariffs, but from within the American auto industry itself, where a rebellion long dismissed as impossible was now taking shape: the dealer rebellion. Elon Musk once boasted that dealerships were obsolete relics, destined for extinction by Tesla's revolutionary direct-to-consumer model. Buyers adored Tesla's streamlined online process, free from middlemen and markups. Until they didn't. The hidden cost of Tesla's model emerged painfully as cars aged and problems arose. Service centers were sparse, and customers found themselves stranded without solutions. Software bugs froze screens. Faulty batteries left cars immobilized. Repairs were weeks, even months away. A chorus of frustrated Tesla owners grew louder, demanding the kind of hands-on support only dealerships could offer. Dealers, sensing opportunity, seized their moment. For years sidelined, these local dealerships rebuilt their value around trust, accessibility, and community connection. Dodge dealerships, suffering from a depleted lineup, pivoted rapidly, shifting to used inventories, selling rival electric brands, or transitioning entirely to other manufacturers. They reminded customers of the tangible, personal service Tesla dismissed as unnecessary. Dealership associations began aggressive lobbying campaigns across state legislatures, successfully blocking direct sales models. Musk found himself buried under lawsuits and state-level bans, a twist he had never anticipated. Texas, Florida, Ohio, key markets that once embraced Tesla's innovation, turned hostile overnight. Customers, too, rediscovered the appeal of personal connection. The comfort of face-to-face support mattered more than apps and websites, particularly when things went wrong. Tesla's futuristic ideal, built around virtual convenience, now seemed isolating and cold. Just as dealerships reasserted dominance, another crisis erupted, more fundamental than tariffs or customer support. The electric revolution faced a threat no automaker had prepared for, a ticking clock beneath every car and behind every charge. Tesla's final gamble. The surge in electric vehicle adoption had always been Elon Musk's dream. Streets filled with silent, emissions-free Teslas symbolized progress and prestige. But Tesla's bold vision depended on one critical factor: a power grid robust enough to sustain it. That vision was about to shatter. California's grid buckled first, overwhelmed during peak hours by thousands of EVs simultaneously plugged in. Neighborhoods faced rolling blackouts, with Teslas sitting idle, powerless. Ontario's infrastructure, similarly strained by harsh winters and booming EV adoption, faltered under new electrical loads. European cities like Paris and Berlin imposed charging restrictions to avoid catastrophic failures. The EV revolution, heralded as seamless and sustainable, revealed itself as deeply fragile. Tesla's proprietary supercharger network, once praised as its strongest advantage, now became its Achilles heel. Stations overflowed, equipment broke down, and queues stretched for hours. Expansion projects stalled in bureaucracy and public backlash. Tesla had promised convenience, but delivered chaos. Toyota, however, anticipated these challenges. Instead of isolated charging stations, it built alliances with utility providers and existing networks. Flexibility became Toyota's greatest strength. When Tesla drivers faced bottlenecks and broken promises, Toyota offered dependable access, fostering consumer trust and stability. Charging became more than convenience. It was now a question of equity. Wealthier urbanites with home charging stations enjoyed uninterrupted mobility, while middle-class and rural drivers found themselves trapped by failing infrastructure. Tesla's once inclusive innovation was becoming a symbol of inequality and frustration. Cornered and desperate, Musk placed one final bet. To salvage Tesla's crumbling empire, he rushed to development on a radically affordable electric model, attempting to reclaim the market from Toyota's grasp. But shortcuts were inevitable. Reports surfaced detailing quality control nightmares, misaligned body panels, malfunctioning screens, battery issues. Tesla insiders pleaded for delays, but Musk refused. The rushed vehicle became Tesla's greatest humiliation. Reviews mocked its poor quality. Customers canceled orders, demanding refunds. Investors fled, causing Tesla's stock to spiral downward. The visionary brand became a cautionary tale of hubris and overreach. Simultaneously, Doge faded quietly, its once proud roar silenced by indecision and obsolescence. No dramatic crash, just a gradual, unnoticed disappearance. As Tesla burned publicly, engulfed by the firestorm of Musk's reckless gamble, a sobering truth emerged. Innovation alone was never enough. Tesla and Doge had both underestimated the importance of trust, stability, and humility in an industry built upon relationships and reliability. Musk's dream unraveled not because electric vehicles failed, but because the foundation he built upon was far weaker than he imagined. Now the question is, will Tesla recover, or is it too late? What do you think? Let us know below, and thanks for watching.